Hi guys, we're going to add on to our equations of a circle. So before we do that, going back to review what the equation of our circle is, x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared, remembering that this guy is your center and then this is your radius. Well, my question says that I have the endpoints of my diameter. In order to write the equation of a circle, I need to know what my center is and I need to know what my radius is. Well, in this case, I don't know either one, so I'm going to have to find both of these values. Well, if it's a diameter, I have my circle, and I'm going from one point all the way over to the other, going straight through my circle. I need to figure out what my center is. Or in other words, if I have the end points here, how do I find this guy? That would be by my midpoint. So I want to find the midpoint between these two guys, and that's going to be what my center is. So again, my center, meaning I have to look for the midpoint between those 2 points, which the midpoint is the average. So I'm going to take negative 8 plus negative 12 divided by 2. That's going to be my x value. Then I'm going to do the same thing averaging my y value. So I'm going to get negative 8 plus 4 divided by 2. So this is going to give me negative 8 plus negative 12 is going to be negative 20 over 2. Oops, negative 20 over 2. And negative 8 plus 4 is going to give me negative 4 over 2. Which means that's going to give me negative 10, negative 2. So that's what my center is. My center is negative 10, negative 2. Okay, I still need to figure out what my radius is. So I can use the equation of my circle, or I can use my distance between the center, which I just found, and one of the points, because now I know my center is going to be negative 10, negative 2. That's what this guy is right here. And I know that either one of these are these 2 points. I could just find one of them. Let's just say I have negative 8, figure not drawn to scale, of course. And I want to figure out what this distance here is to figure out what my radius is. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to find the distance between these two. So to figure out what my radius is, I'm going to have to use distance. So the distance between these 2 points here, I'm going to get the distance is equal to the square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. So I'm going to get negative 8 minus negative 10 squared plus negative 8 minus negative 2 squared. Square root here, double negative, these guys all become positive. So I'm going to get 2 squared plus negative 6 squared, which is going to be 4 plus 36, which is the square root of 40. So my radius is going to be the square root of 40, and I'm going to simplify this to be 4 and 10. 4 is perfect, so I'm going to get this to be 2 rad 10. 2 rad 10 is going to be my radius, and that's what I need. So the equation of my circle is going to be x, the opposite of this guy, so it's going to be x plus 10 squared plus y, and the opposite of this, which is y plus 2 squared, is equal to, now be careful here, your radius is 2 rad 10. But remember, I want to do radius squared. So I'm going to take my 2 rad 10 times 2 rad 10. 2 rad 10 times 2 rad 10, that's where I'm going to get 40. So just so you guys see that, 2 rad 10, that's what my radius is. But remember, I want to do radius squared, because that's what's going to go here. So my radius squared is going to be 2 rad 10 times 2 rad 10. So 2 times 2 is going to be 4, rad 10 times rad 10 is just 10, and that's where I get my 40 from. My center here, again, negative 10, negative 2, and my radius 2 rad 10. Let's try another one just like that. So before I can do anything, I have to figure out what my center is, which means I have to use my midpoint and then what my radius is. So my midpoint to figure out my center means I have to look for my midpoint. So I'm going to average my x's, average my y's. I'm going to take my 1 plus negative 9 over 2 and 6 plus negative 4 over 2. And this is going to give me negative 8 over 2 and 2 over 2, which is going to give me negative 4, 1. So my center I know is negative 4, 1. And then I want to figure out what my radius is. So I'm going to take the distance between my center that I just found and one point here. So my radius, I'm going to use my distance formula. Distance is equal to the square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. Again, you can use this guy, or you could use the equation of your circle, replacing the center that you now know, and then your x and y with one of these points. I'm just going to do distance. So I'm going to take, using these 2 points here, I'm going to take my x2, which is going to be 1 minus negative 4 squared plus 6 minus 1 squared, and my square root here, these guys become positive. So I'm going to get 5 squared plus 5 squared, which is 25 plus 25, which is the square root of 50. So that's my distance, the square root of 50. In other words, my radius. My radius is equal to rad 50. Rad 50, though, I'm going to simplify this. So my radius is going to be 25 and 2. 25 is perfect, so I'm going to get 5 rad 2 as my radius. But then I want the equation of my circle. So I'm going to get my x, and to the opposite, so x plus 4 squared plus y, the opposite here, so minus 1 squared is equal to, and again, be careful here, you want your radius squared. So if your radius is rad 50, when you square it, rad 50 times rad 50 is just 50. So your equation of your circle and then your center. All right, so let's go back. We have our equation, x plus 13 squared plus y plus 14 squared equals 8. I want to figure out what the center and the radius is. This is perfect. I can figure this out when it's in this form, and this is known as my standard form. So my center is going to be equal to the opposite of what's happening here. So negative 13 and negative 14 is going to be my center. And my radius is going to be this guy. Remember, this is my radius squared. So my radius is going to be, radius squared is equal to 8. I want to figure out what the radius is, so I'm going to square root both of these. My radius is equal to the square root of 8, which is 4 times 2. 4 is perfect, so your answer is 2 rad 2. So that's what we want. We can figure out what your center and your radius is when it's written in standard form. But what if it's written like this? So this is where we learned previously how to complete the square, because we're going to need to use completing the square to figure out what my center and my radius are here. I want to get it to look like this, and so here is your hint. We are going to complete the square, but we're going to do it 2 times. So I'm going to combine my x's together, and I'm going to combine my y's together, and I'm going to take this 224 and move him over to the other side. So I'm going to get x squared plus 18x plus something, and then my y, keeping them together, y squared plus 26y plus a different something, and that's going to be equal to, now if I move my 224 over to the other side, it's going to be negative 224, but I'm going to have to add this something that I added here as well as this something that I added over here. So what's going to go into these somethings? Well, this is where I complete the square 2 times. I'm going to complete the square for my x's, and I'm going to do it again for my y's. So my x's, I'm going to take this guy. Remember, we complete the square, we're taking our b term and we divide it by 2 and we square it. So 18 divided by 2 squared, which is going to be 9 squared, which is 81. So 81 is going to go here. Now, if I'm adding 81 on the left side, I have to add 81 to the right side. And this guy, now when I factor this, I know I'm going to get x plus 9 squared. And I'm going to figure out what's happening for my y's now. Same thing, taking the b term, which is 26, divided by 2 squared, which is going to be 13 squared. 13 squared is 169. So 169 is going to go here. And this here factors to be y plus 13 squared. And all of that is equal to, well, when I add negative 224 plus 81 plus 169, that gives me 26. So now that I have the equation of my circle, I want to know what the center is. It's going to be the opposite, which is negative 9, negative 13. That's my center. And my radius is going to be rad 26. Again, because remember this guy right here is your radius squared. So to figure out what just the radius is, you square root, and so you get a radius of 26. So let's go ahead and try this one again. Go ahead and pause if you guys want a second to try to figure this out on your own. All right, for this one, again, I'm going to combine my x's, combine my y's, and then move my 100 over to the other side so that it looks like this. I'm going to get x squared minus 8x plus something plus y squared plus 20y plus something is equal to, now my 100 moved over to the other side is going to be negative 100, and I have to add the two same somethings, which I don't know what they are yet. So let's figure out what's going to go here in this guy, and then what's going to go in this spot here. For my x's, I'm going to take the b, negative 8 divided by 2 squared, which is going to be negative 4 squared, which is 16. So 16 goes here, which means 16 has to also go here. And then this is going to factor to be x minus 4 squared. Now doing the same thing for the y, taking this guy, so 20 divided by 2 squared, which is going to be 10 squared, and that gives me 100. So 100 goes here, and 100 goes here. And this factors to be y plus 10 squared. And all of that is equal to negative 100 plus 16 plus 100. Well, the hundreds go away, and you're left with 16. So your center is going to be opposite of what's happening here, and then the square root of this guy. So we're going to get the center to be 4, positive 4, negative 10, and a radius of 4. So again, this guy is equal to r squared. All right, so I hope that's helpful for you guys. Let me know if you have any questions. Your homework tonight has the instant scoring only on a couple of problems, just like it was for yesterday. I want to see if you guys know what you're doing because it is multiple choice, and then later on I will put on the instant scoring for you guys to check yourselves. All right, guys, good luck.